Welcome to this Vicinity session. Today's session we are going to learn how to access data in Vicinity. To do this, first we are going to check the requirements we need to have set up to access the data, and then we will see how to access such data. First, the requirements are these. We need to have an access point, a service registered and related to the first access point, at least one contract with a device or another device, and then we need to have the gateway AP and the agent running and configured. Let's see how these requirements should look like in the neighborhood manager and in your laptop. We are going to log in the neighborhood manager. Then we are going to check that we have an access point created. In this case is read data service AP. Then we are going to check that we actually register a service in the neighborhood manager. In this case, this is our service. And finally, we are going to check that we have contracts with this service. If we have all these elements, then we can move to the infrastructure that should be deployed in our desktop. In this case, we downloaded the Docker services and we have already set up the agent. With the credentials of the agent, ID, and the password and the adapter ID. And finally, we are going to start the Docker services. And with all this, we have everything set up to access the data in Vicinity. Now, to access the data, what we need to do is create a special request to our agent. In this case, we are going to do a GET request to this address. I will explain it now. First, we need to specify the address of our agent. In this case, is localhost on the port 997. Then, this is fixed. We need to write agent remote objects. After which, we will write the OID of the remote object we want to access. In this case, we need to know beforehand that OID to be written here. Then, we have to specify properties. Or event or action, depending on what we are accessing, and then the name of such element. In this case, the property is called inverter PV actual active power. Once we have this, we need to set up the header of the request. If we don't do this, we will not obtain any response. So this is very important. First, we need to specify the content type, application JSON. Then we need to specify the key adapter ID, and the value must be the adapter ID name that we wrote in our thing description when we registered the services, this service in particular. And finally, we need to specify the infrastructure ID, which is read data service AP. So if you recall, this is the name of the access point we created in the neighborhood manager. So having set up these three key value pairs for the headers, we can send a request. And in this case, we obtain this body as response, which contains, first, if we obtain some error in the request, and as well here we have the status code. Then we have the type of content type, which in this case is null, but it may change depending on the remote endpoint. And finally, in the message, what we have is the response of the remote object. So in this case, we obtain 131 as result. This is all of how to access Vicinity data. Thank you for watching this webinar.